Alright, so this is going to be a sort of a walkthrough of Germany for Black Ice. It's not recommended you play on Iron Man, but I do anyway, so, you know, do whatever you want. So this is going to be mainly geared towards newer players, players who maybe aren't completely familiar with Black Ice or maybe even Hoi 4 in general. I'm not going to go over all like basic mechanics like selecting all armies here, like shift click that. I'm not going to go over everything like that, just the main strategic points really. I'll try to cover everything that I think is of critical importance, but you'll see a lot of it here is preference as well. So how you organize your army, not a big deal. So I'm just going to cut through this here. Actually, I usually do 5 armies. Oh yeah, he's not a field marshal at the start anymore. So if there's anything I miss in this, maybe leave a comment or something and I'll try to respond to them and I'll pin them so that the comment section can sort of be like an FAQ. Just because there's a lot of people that are constantly asking questions about how to play Black Ice and specifically Germany. So I figured I would make this to sort of cover that. So at the top here, if you didn't know already, you can do, you can add configurable top bar windows so you can keep track of certain things. I find consumer goods and weekly stability to be very nice to keep up there, but there's a lot of other options. Alright, so you're going to want to start decrypting Francis cipher. This is just something you always want to be doing passively. It's not a massive difference, but it's pretty nice. So I'm going to start with enter the Rhineland. You can also start with these 7-day focuses, the Air Force, Navy, and Army one. If you do all 3 of those, you get a doctrine research slot, which is pretty helpful, but I find doing Rhineland first is better because you get access to these military factories and all your resources in the Rhineland a lot sooner, which is, well, 21 days sooner. It's not that big of a deal, but that's what I do. So you're going to want to start with mills. This past update increased the amount of steel you're going to be using to build things, so you're actually going to be having a significant amount of imports. Oh wow, yeah, I didn't notice that. Regular infantry equipment now uses 2, used to use 1. So you're going to import a lot more iron. And so for that reason, I think maybe you could justify building a few civs at the start. I wouldn't do anything more than, you know, this though. Maybe if you wanted to get real greedy, a few states worth, but I generally don't think that's worth it. You get a lot of bonuses to construction of mill factories. So you see here, plus 56% versus plus 14%. And you're only going to get more as time goes on. So that's something to keep in mind. So pretty standard for your opening research slots, for your universal slots. I tend to go dispersed industry. It's not horrible to go concentrated, but I find it's generally not worth it. You have the same factory output here. You have more factories per state, so you can make an argument for that. I haven't thoroughly tested it enough to see how much that's really worth, but yeah, so you have here 37 and then 39. By 39, the total difference in factory output's only going to be 6%. So I just don't find it to be that helpful, and it reduces your production efficiency retention. So yeah, I really don't think it can be justified. Alright, so there's also some focuses for Germany that sort of encourage you to take dispersed, but if you really want to go concentrated, don't let that dissuade you. It's not the end of the world. Alright, so for this slot, I usually like to do Combat Engineer Company. That one's a must-have. I'm not sure if anyone does armored trains. I find they're not really all that important. Uh, might as well have green air anyway and not have to worry about it. And then I'm gonna usually go paratrooper equipment. Reason being, first off, everything else is ahead of time. So in Black Ice, if you didn't already know, it has massive ahead of time penalties. So 3 years ahead is 1500%. So it's really usually not worth it to research things ahead of time unless it's very little ahead of time or you have absolutely nothing else to do. So I'm gonna hit the paratrooper equipment next, just because it's there and it gives me the opportunity to use paratroopers later if I want to. Generally, I find them to sort of be a meme though. They're not really that good. But what it does open the door to is Commandos here, which is a support company. Uses a lot of your special forces capacity, so you have to use it sparingly, maybe just on your tank divisions or something, but it's quite nice because it gives a lot of terrain bonuses, which can be pretty nice for tanks, which get a lot of penalties. So, start with combat engineer, tanks, research. Most of this stuff, yeah, I find this stuff doesn't really matter. Armored cars, if you increase them, uh, increase their research on those, they actually increase their fuel usage, uh, which makes them suck. Because all their other stats don't really matter unless you're using them as battalions. If you're using them as recon, which you can do, I think they're probably the best recon. Actually, I'm not sure. They might not be as good as like armor. I don't know how good armor is, but in terms of reconnaissance provided, I think armored car is the best by far. So they're quite good, but if you are going to use them, I'd recommend just keeping this one. Don't bother going up because you're not going to see any improvements in your stats. You're just going to see higher fuel usage. On the other hand here, you have these light vehicles. The more you research, the fuel use actually goes down. So that could be worth researching, but I find the difference is so small that I really have better things to research. These things are great. You're going to want to get that as soon as you can, but we can't yet. So we're going to start with the Panzer II here, which is going to open the door to the Panzer III and IV. And we'll cross that bridge when we get to that. Navy, as Germany, you really can just ignore Navy. I think maybe optimally you should, but I'm just going to play how I usually play, and you can learn whatever you can from it. I usually play with sort of a plan Z in mind. So I'll be doing sort of a surface fleet. What's there to do? You can do super heavy armor here. For super heavy battleships, I don't think I'm gonna do that this time though. I don't remember what my first thing is. I'll just go with this. Alright, then start with the BF-110. Alright, so yeah, for fighters, the usual one people go for is the BF-109, which is a perfectly good plane. But, oh, did they increase the steel cost for that? Yeah, they did. Alright, so it's not very good. It's a perfectly fine plane. I just get irritated with it because certain things can't interconvert. So I think you can convert B to C. I don't think you can convert C's to D's, and I don't think D's can convert to E's. So that sort of messes up your production. You'll be producing all these. They'll get bottlenecked at the C. Or maybe I'm misremembering this part, but I know the D can't go to E. So you'll get bottlenecked at BF-109D. You'll start producing the BF-109E, and then you'll have, 500 BF-109Ds now that are completely obsolete and useless. So I don't really like that. BF-110s used to be able to convert all the way through, but now it looks like you can't convert the B to the C, and I think I was told the F to the G is also not possible. So that's a bit of a doozy. I still do like the BF-110 line for the superior range. They're more costly per fighter, and the air superiority is not as good. But I find the extra range is worth it, especially later in the war when you're working in Russia and air zones are so big, you don't really have the range to cover most of it. Like this is 500. All right, so yeah, like a BF-109 would have more range than this, but not much more. So you see, like I'm right next to the Lithuania air zone, and I can't even really fully cover it. So yeah, BF-110s are just a bit nicer in that way. It's easier to get more of them into the air zone at once. So just gonna finish up these. Alright, so what should we start with next? Yeah, let's do an operative. You don't need to do these intelligence agencies. I'd recommend there's a decision you can do. Increase operatives here. Uh, you're going to want to get this at least at some point, so you can get enough spies that you can at least get collaboration government on France. You're going to want at least 3. Sometimes I've messed up and I've only gotten 2, and it's not the end of the world, but it's the more you can get on France, the better. Because it's going to give you a lot more factories, and it's going to save you a lot of garrison to have more compliance on France, so that's a big one. But in this case, I am going to go for expanded. If you are just going to not expand and keep it limited and just do this, don't do it as soon as you get enough command power, because as soon as you get enough command power to do this, I think like once you get to like 85 command power, that's about when the Civil War is going to start, and at that point you're going to have, I think, like 20 days to do a focus or a decision that requires 25 command power, and like saves Franco and gives you some air XP. So if I think you can do it after that point, but Franco's dead at that point anyways. I don't really know how that works, but it ruins the LARP. So if you're worried about that, yeah, don't do that immediately. It's a trap. Wait until you get to 100, which you won't, or until after you've done that decision already. Okay. So, production. Yeah, let's do production first. Yeah, there's no reason to keep producing the Panzer 1A, as far as I'm aware. I usually just transfer all those factories right to the Panzer 1B. Just put 4 more there, delete. And then these early planes as well kind of suck. I have heard some arguments in favor of the medium bomber, which does actually look pretty good. It's sort of a decent jack of all trades. It's got great range. Well, not this one, but it can convert into later ones, which do. And it's got the later ones also have decent ground attacks, so you can use them as CAS and that sort of thing. Even strat bombers, like discount strat bombers. So that's a feasible play, but I'm just gonna play how I normally do and take the transport plane. I'm actually going to, well, I'm going to disband this transport and then go to medium bombers. The medium bombers that look like that, you can actually convert. Actually, you know what? I'm going to get rid of both of them. You can actually convert those into the transports. So that saves you a lot of resources and all that. Yeah, I'm not going to do these. God, I don't like how much steel you use now. That's rough. Alright, so yeah, it's a bit tedious here, but just gonna try to make this not completely ugly. So I tend to drop the mountain warfare equipment, mountain pack arty, medium arty, and heavy arty. None of those things are particularly bad, but I tend to not feel like microing special forces, especially as Germany. I just don't really see much of a need for it. I mean, Norway's mountainous, but usually you can take Norway with really crappy divisions, no issue. Also, Norway's not really that important at all. So unless you're LARPing, or playing multiplayer where you need to get it to cut off Soviet Lend-Lease, then I would say don't even bother with Norway. It's not worth it. But yeah, I mean, there's a few hills in France, a few hills around Moscow, and then there's the Caucasus Mountains, but usually by the time I get to the Caucasus Mountains, they're pretty much undefended anyway, so yeah, I really just don't see the need for Mountaineers, but you can use them if you want. So I'm just going to drop the Mountaineer equipment. Pack-Arty serves a similar purpose. Not going to use it. I'm just going to use regular light artillery. So my build is going to be really focused on making tanks. Very nice tank divisions that are going to do all the heavy work for me. Whereas my infantry is just kind of going to sit there and be the... so here's the armored cars that you can use for recon. My infantry is just kind of going to be the wall that sits there and hopefully doesn't have to fight much. Alright, so yeah, one thing's for sure, you're going to want to increase factories on horse transports. Heavy transports, maybe a few more. Transport trucks, you're going to want a lot more. That's probably good. Artillery prime mover, you only need this if you're using heavy AA or heavy artillery. Motorized heavy AA and motorized heavy artillery. I am not, so I'm not going to use that at all. Typically I want to slap an extra one on trains usually, because when it's just left on 2, I tend to find that I have issues with it running out later and have to compensate and put, you know, a bunch of factories on it, so might as well just deal with that early. Huh. Okay. Son of a gun. My organization. Okay. I think that's all the basic stuff out of the way. So I typically would like to overproduce on infantry equipment here, maybe 18 or maybe even let's go for 20. 19's good. And then let's throw some more mills on the light tank. The reason I'm going to be overproducing those infantry equipment is because, yeah, they're not going to actually give me that much, so let's... Is because I'm going to want to lend-lease that to China, Japan, and Spain, and that's going to give me a lot of army XP. So here, when I'm getting these resources, I like to boost France. Reason being, you shouldn't really have difficulty taking France. Even if you make a lot of stupid mistakes, generally you can pull out a victory there without too many issues. So I generally like trading from them, because at least in theory they're going to build a lot more factories with all these civs I'm giving them, and those are all going to go to me later. So in theory, at least, it should be an investment in the future rather than, you know, importing from someone else who's either a useless ally or an enemy. Okay. Siam, I like to import my rubber from. You can try Belgium, but usually I find they cut you off. Oh, I forgot. You have a rubber refinery you start with, so don't quite need this many. Drop one of these. Alright, yeah. As far as Navy goes, you can just delete all these and put all your dockyards on convoys and be perfectly fine. I'm just going to let these go. primary reason I would suggest leaving these be is there is a where is it? Here for the naval invasions, they're severely limited in BICE, so you don't have much capacity. So you can only naval invade with 2 at the start here. Um, so you're really going to want these techs for Sea Lion, or if you're invading Norway or whatever. Norway, it's not really that important, but it's super long, and the reason for that is you see at the bottom, token Navy minus 20%, minus 60%. So your Navy strength, if you click this little bar on the side here, you can see gives you massive penalties. So minus 20% to all Navy and minus 60% specifically to landing craft. So that can be quite detrimental. Um, yeah, other than that, I pretty much ignore this thing. Okay. This is as good as it gets. Clicking a bunch of industry buttons. I'm just gonna slap these guys on here. I'm just gonna leave this one here so that when all these guys are finished, I'm gonna get a pop-up saying I have unused dockyards, so I don't accidentally leave all my production. I just transport ships for the entire game, which you could do. That's not a big deal, but alright, so typically what I'm gonna do here, oh, I already set that up. Okay. And I think we're good to unpause unless there's something blatant. Ah, yes. I'm gonna merge this whole navy. From what I've heard, it's best to just death stack anyway, so I'm not going to merge my subs. I'm just control right clicking this port to move their home base. And now we can begin. So, the reason I want to move these guys is because I'm going to be training them to get Navy XP. If you train in the southern Baltic Sea, you get all of these penalties, so a lot more fuel consumption. Training over here in the North Sea, you don't have that, so it's much more cost effective to do that while you're at peace. You're also going to want to import oil. Venezuela is usually a decent one. Yeah, so this recent update I haven't really gotten experience on. I'm going to go with the 28 centimeters here actually. I usually go with the 38, but upon closer inspection, I think the 38 centimeter technology is actually a little behind the 28. So the 28's a lot more cost effective, so I'm going to go with that. I'm going to throw this in the back. Am I overproducing steel? Yes, I am. Okay. Alright, you're good. Y'all are good. Alright. So, I used to take a much more aggressive strategy of going immediately for high taxes or extreme taxes here. I don't think I'm going to do that this time because I don't really want extreme tariffs. I am going to want high taxes eventually, but if I do it right now, I'm going to be at 20% consumer goods, and as soon as we lose the winter heating, I'm going to be under my minimum, so I'm effectively wasting 2% consumer goods reduction. And I don't want that, so I'm just gonna leave this be for now. Maybe next year I'll change that. Let's see, what was my new safer strategy? I don't remember. I'll remember when I get political power. Oh yeah, I think I went with Goebbels to start. yeah, if you're training your navy, if you want to be optimal about it, you're gonna want to split your navy and not train any of your capital ships. Get rid of the battleships, the pocket battleships. Um, I think the light cruisers might be okay to keep, but all the other ones, all those bigger ships, you're gonna want to dump because they are gonna guzzle a lot of fuel and give you, I think, pretty much the same amount of naval XP as the smaller ship. Alright, so as soon as we get this, I'm gonna want to go for the Army 7-day focus first, for that 25 Army XP, because I'm gonna want to redesign this tank as soon as possible, and then I'm also gonna want to redesign this Wachtruppen division. It's gonna be sort of my coastal garrison, and it's also gonna give us some fluff for our division numbers, so we can send more volunteers to the Spanish Civil War. Speaking of divisions, though, I'm gonna hide a lot of these. I'll keep these in the off chance that I use them, which is just about 0. Yeah, this is basically gonna be all I use. And that looks pretty good. Alright, so 180 political power. Yeah, there's quite a few ways you can start this. Generally, I like to go to low investment education policy at some point. You're gonna want to grab Goebbels here. Once you get him, George Thomas, you're gonna want to grab here. Hermann Goring, you're gonna want to swap him for sympathetic judge here, but I'm pretty sure you can't do that until you've, son of a gun, you've done this focus, because this requires Hermann Goring to be active. I'm not sure if that means active in this seat or in this seat, because we're about to get an event that puts him in charge here as well. So I don't know if he needs to be active in both or just in one of these, or if it doesn't matter which one he's in as long as he's in one of them. I don't know. But yeah, we're gonna get rid of him eventually, and we're not gonna bother replacing him here manually because here he's gonna get replaced by event with Funk later, and so we might as well save our political power for more important things. Like I said, we're going to go to extreme taxes. I'm not going to bother going industrial tariffs this time. That's something you can do if you'd like. It's going to lower weekly stability a little bit more, and give more consumer goods. But you're going to build military factories even quicker. More production efficiency growth and more factory output is quite nice. The research penalty, though, is a bit of a bummer. So, we avoid that. And then, yeah, once you're at war, I like going warmonger. I don't think there's any downside, really. It's harder to improve relations. Right. And you get 5 stability, so yeah, it's a pretty nice one if you have excess political power after the war starts. Women in the workforce, you can do this one if you're desperate to reduce consumer goods, but the penalties that come with it, I think generally make it my last pick for reducing consumer goods. There's a lot of better stuff. Alright, I'm gonna try picking up the pace because I don't want to be recording this all day. Extra. Put it on tanks, of course. Alright, yeah. Now, so we got all this stuff from the Rhineland, so we can do that, and then minus 225. And we're looking good. If you have excess chromium as well, you can put it in here. It increases your efficiency producing steel. Generally not worth like doing, like you're gonna spend more on importing chromium or alloying metals than you would actually save on iron imports. So don't think you can save on iron or save on net imports by doing that. Okay, so let's just follow up with this. And here's what I was gonna do with this garrison division. Just make the swap the garrison for militia. Save that. Now I'm gonna produce, I don't know, 50 something. Yeah, that looks good. I'm just gonna put them in this army, which I have garrisoned spread out, so they're not gonna death stack anywhere and get attrition. And what else? This. I want to replace this tank. This is going to be converted into an SPG later, so it's going to be really a heavy hitter in terms of soft attack for us. So I'm going to want to change ergonomics because that's a big percent increase to soft attack. Improved optics as well. I'm going to try cutting costs here by only going to frontal focus. Armor distribution, generally, unless you're going for a very expensive tank, I would stick with frontal focus. It's very expensive to increase for relatively small bonuses. Armor here, you'll notice the difference in hardness is actually bigger on the lower levels. That's 11% for a about 0.26 production cost difference versus, you know, here it's not even a 4% difference for the same cost, or approximately the same cost. So these earlier ones are much more important to have. So it's sort of up to you, like how much are you willing to pay for a little bit. I'm generally willing to pay up to about 15 millimeter on these, but it's up to you. You don't want to make too many changes though either, because conversion cost is going to skyrocket, so keep that in mind. And then lastly, I want to put standard gearbox here. Reason being, I want my tank divisions to go about 9 kilometers per hour. And when I switch this thing over to an SPG, put that artillery gun on it, it's going to drop the speed by about 1 kilometer per hour. So this is perfect for me. It's going to have a lot of soft attack. It's going to have the perfect speed. It's all going to be good. So, not going to bother renaming it. That's why. One thing you can do here, go to the equipment for your tank division and then double check that this is the right one because I didn't rename it. Yeah, this is the one I don't want them using. Update. So now all these new ones I'm producing are just going to go to storage. They're just going to use the old ones. So I'm not going to have the ones I'm specifically designing to be made into SPGs just wasted by my crappy early tank divisions. Yeah, Rhineland gives you a few crappy divisions here. Just throw them in. Alright, now we're doing the air focus. It's going to finish up that sort of requirement to get the extra research slot. Do I want to do that? No, I don't. When you have a really close requirement like that, you can just open your stockpiles, and that should sort of cover you for a little bit. As for spies, typically go for people with a seducer trait. Reduces the chance of them being detected by more than any other trait, I believe. So that's a nice one to have. Gonna start on Paris. If you are going heavy on spies, collaboration government on France is priority number 1. Collaboration on Poland is nice. You can do that as well, especially because collaboration will reduce resistance target, and Poland gets a lot of resistance, so it's kind of helpful in that regard. But the thing I don't like about that is, well, with France you're going to lose a lot to Vichy France. Poland you're going to lose a lot to the Soviets, and I'm pretty sure they get your compliance, so you're kind of helping them out as well, which I don't like. But you're not getting as many factories from compliance on Poland as you are in France, so that's something to bear in mind. Yeah, you can do this focus at any point. 0 days. Still takes 1 day, but half a stability. Yeah, here's that one. So you start with mobile warfare. You're going to want to do mobile warfare, sort of a no-brainer. For the defensive doctrine, for Germany, I think the only two that are even really worth considering for a traditional Germany game. I mean, maybe you're gonna just declare war on everyone and just sit and let them come to you, in which case maybe these two would be better. But elastic defense is somewhat nice because it gives you some modifiers for tanks and movement speed, reinforce rate, that's nice. But generally, people tend to go for attritional containment. Elastic defense, it sounds great for Germany, just, based on description, but the uh, the modifiers it gives you are just not great. Defense, you don't really need defense. Typically, defense is something you have in abundance. Um, so this one's better. It gives a lot more org. They did nerf it. It gives a reduction to division HP now, which sucks, but I still think it's the best one. Organization for all frontline battalions, which is almost everything except artillery, I think. Oh, I didn't realize it includes anti-tank. Alright, well, there's that. Engineer company too, that's weird. Yeah, air superiority bonus. Yeah, this one's just great. Only thing that's not nice is here you get more experienced soldier losses, but whatever, not a big deal. So the other doctrines you're going to want to focus on, if you're doing special forces, you can get some stuff here. I'm not going to bother with that. Operational support and command. Command, you're just going to want to follow through straightforward. Operational support, the big one you want to get through is this one on the right here. Gives you some really nice bonuses. Division supplies, lower supply consumption. You're going to find supply to be a big issue. Org loss when moving, that's really nice. Allows you to keep on the offensive longer. Fuel capacity, whatever. I don't actually find that to be all that useful. I almost never run out of fuel unless my division's been completely cut off, in which case they're screwed anyway. And then division recovery rate 5%. That's a lot. Here you have division speed and org loss when moving reduction, so that's quite nice. This is going to be useless. I mean, equipment capture ratio, maybe that's something, but yeah, it's generally not worth it. License, you're not going to license anything, so that's worthless. These ones, kind of nice to have, but lowest priority. Like if you're caught up on all of your doctrines and you have a free doctrine research, then you can go down these, but 3% experienced wounded, experienced soldier losses, not a big deal. 5% lower chance to get wounded. War sport, whatever. Yeah, this last one's pretty nice. 20% lower air wing experience loss when killed. That's pretty good. But yeah, generally go through command, right, the second and fourth of operational support, attritional containment, and mobile warfare. So I'm going to start with attritional containment just because I want to get that organization boost on time for Spain. Let's see, let's actually go over here. You're going to find the order here doesn't matter all that much in the grand scheme of things. People do a lot of different ways with almost identical results. One thing you can do is go here if you're wanting to do a lot more naval focus. It's just a nice little boost. You get some more dockyards, another capital shipyard, so you can build more capital ships at the same time, and reduces the ship design cost for some of those bigger ships. Whichever you go with, I typically want to do something that's about 14 days, so it's usually either that or this, and then we're going to go down the industrial focuses on the left, because there's a date requirement here. Yeah, April 22nd, so that's just going to sort of put us right over that limit, so should be good. Okay, yeah. So once you're at about 85 here, you can actually increase your civilian fuel consumption. Generally, you're going to have fuel issues as Germany, but I think this is a worthy investment. Not a whole lot of political power cost, only 85 for this and then 85 for that. But you're getting weekly stability, political power gain, building construction speed. That's really nice. Mineral resources extraction factor down though, that sucks, but whatever. I think it's worth it. You really want to get as many mills out as you can before the war. take advantage of all those bonuses you get. Look at that, we're already breaking even on stability. This usually isn't how it goes for me, because usually I do extreme taxes, extreme tariffs right off the get-go, so I'm like treading water with stability. If you do want to take that more aggressive route, just make sure you're doing these kind of focuses or decisions here, like focus on people's problems, you get stability, weekly stability for a little bit of political power. It's definitely feasible, but I like this way as well because it's a little safer. So the difference between Panzer III and Panzer IV here, Panzer IV can typically have heavier armament, and I typically go with it for that reason. I can put a close support gun on it. Panzer III, you can't really. So you're a lot more restricted in what guns you can use on the Panzer III. Panzer III, though, does tend to be more reliable. This first one's the same, actually, but like here, 77 already, 82. This is still 74. And it's going to be cheaper in terms of cost. But yeah, I really don't think it's worth it, generally speaking. Again, it's another one of those things where you can use it, and it's not going to dramatically change your game, but you're going to have less soft attack. Probably some more hard attack, though, if you go with the 3 instead of the 4. I'm going to go with the 4, though. It's also less research, so it's nicer to go straight through that way. So, right. Alright, now here, you're going to want to go for production efficiency cap, ASAP, because you start off with quite a low cap, 33%, and you're going to hit it really quickly, or 34%, or is that just, yeah, it's just equipment specific buffs, I guess. And so a 4% increase from, 34, that's, what's that, 38 over 34, I don't know, that's like a 10% increase in factory output, basically. Not going to produce the Panzer II. And here, yeah, I'm going to be lazy with my Navy. I don't really feel like microing all that. It's not really that important. It's mostly for LARP. Ah. Alright, paratrooper. I'm actually gonna research using Mauser, even though I'm pretty sure Mauser gives it no bonuses and Hugo Boss does. Reason being, I just want to give more funds to Mauser. I hate MIOs, but they're in the game now, so whatever. Let's actually go through those now and just get those out of the way so we're not getting spammed with pop-ups later. So, general rule of thumb is I just rush the production bonuses first, and then I just don't really care about the rest. Just whatever reduces, whatever gives me the stats I like the most. But typically they're not going to get used because you have to, if you unlock them after you start producing the equipment, you have to go back and reapply the MIO or whatever, and I don't think it's worth it. So Mauser only has the 1 boosting production. Here. Opal, I like going down to the hardness one there first. That one's awesome actually to get hardness on everything. Breakthrough, and then mech. Theoretically, we should be getting this right before we actually get mech. So we're doing that last, but we'll see. This one gives funds, so I actually like going for that one first. So I can get through the rest quicker. And then whatever. Did I ever go through all these? I think I did. Alright, yeah, if you get those sell arms events, by the way, always sell. Especially as Germany. I mean, maybe some nations, if you're really poor and you just desperate for as many guns as you can get, maybe buy, but I'm not sure how buying works. I think I did it once on accident. I don't really remember what happened. I don't know if it costs political power, but selling them gains you political power, and so that's generally much more worthwhile. Yeah, see, like 5 days after the required date, so that time's up pretty well. Oh, look at this guy. He's got a lot of traits. I'm gonna forget some really important stuff. I already feel it. Yeah, you know, the darn thing about this strategy I've been doing is too much stability. These focuses here are gonna give you stability, but I don't want it if I'm already gonna be at the cap. So let me hurt my stability somehow. Extreme taxes, I guess. I'm gonna be under the start of the first year. Organization Todd. Death of General Weaver. Oh no, we don't get a bonus to strategic bombers or whatever. Don't care. What am I doing? You can go for a research bonus here. I tend to skip these honestly, unless maybe I'm trying to rush nukes or something. Then I do this. But the research bonus is kind of nice, but I really don't think it's worth the political power. So I think at this point, I might be more interested in. I don't know. We're 214 days away. I'm not gonna do a tank designer yet. What's the deal? You know what? Screw it. Let's go for Guderian. He's gonna give us some army XP, some buffs to our tanks. So we are under our fluorescent lighting. We are under our consumer goods lower limit, so that's something to keep in mind. We can afford to spend some, so maybe I could even do something like, where is it? Additional consumer goods factories. Oh, yeah, actually, that's a pretty neat idea. If I do something else that decreases consumer goods, like decreasing education. But I'm already at like max stability, so I don't really care about that. This is suffering from success. Here, I think you can go up to 37. Oh, look at that. Char North class. Yeah, I might design another battleship. Yeah, I'll do that. I'm gonna do that after I get this though, actually, because this is a nice little bonus, and you can't really refit that. Increase operatives, that's a trap. Don't do it. We need to save that command power for the Civil War. Speaking of which, I'm probably overproducing transport planes right now. That's okay. I'll keep some extra actually for I don't know. Maybe they'll be useful for supply. They've gotten buffed the past few updates. Generally, I still have a negative disposition towards them, but maybe they'll prove themselves. So once we get to 50 here, we can do collab government. Yeah, this is a nice one to do every once in a while, military parade. You can do it if you have a unit in certain cities. A lot of cities really give you next to nothing, and it's not worth doing. But I find Berlin, which you have to be in like East Berlin, Warsaw, and Paris, especially Paris, can give you a lot of political power for doing parades. And this is a good one to get. Increases the max level of military factories you can get. So I'll be able to swing back around here and produce more in the high infrastructure states. What is with France? They're being greedy. Alright, so I'm gonna resume mission, commence when ready, automatically repeat. So hopefully they're just gonna do that a few times. I'll have to remember after they finish their third, I'm going to, or before they finish their third, I'm gonna tell them to not repeat so they don't start another one as I'm gonna be killing France. So I'm gonna actually try to control trade here. Alright, that's what we were looking for. China's a nice guy.